This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, so everybody hear me well? Okay. Animal Mycophiles, exploring fauna and fungal relationships. There's been so many books on flora-funga relationships. And being a former zoologist, I was really interested in seeing the relationship between animals and fungi. And I looked through all the research and just had the hardest time finding anything except for really good, well-researched scientific papers, the university level, but nothing that you can read, like normal. So I decided to lecture about animal and fungi relationships and blogging and all that. And sure enough, that actually turned into a book. So my book looks at many, many groups of animals. There's no way I could have covered all the animals in the world that have a relationship with fungi. So this presentation is like speed dating these symbiotic relationships, but without the disappointment of speed dating. So the concepts of symbiosis, including mutualism, commensalism, zookery, and of course mycophagy is what really drew me into this project. I also look at Umwelt, which is a weird German word that talks about how animals sense the world. We don't sense the world the way animals do, and that makes them better at finding mushrooms for the most part. The concept of fun, let me see if I can minimize this because it's covering my words. Oh, there we go. The concept of mycophagy and fungi culture. So just like mushrooms are important for us at our dinner table, same is true with animals. Survey examples of fauna, fungi, mutualism, and commensalism from various animal phyla. Everything from the poop squad to pollinators. I looked at medicinal and psychedelic, resources that animals like to participate in. And and when I talk about animals getting high, I also mean getting drunk too. So which we'll see. So first, I'm going to start off with fauna and fungal relationships.
Oh,
Um,
real quick, I had to wait to figure out if this was happening, but you might not be presenting your presentation, like it's not advancing.
Oh, it's not advancing?
I don't think so. Other people could correct me if it's just a me problem.
Oh, let's see. Okay, so do you see this advancing?
No.
Oh, no.
All I see is the
The,
picture of the book.
The picture. Oh, no. So how do I fix that?
um,
Any techies? Oh, let's see, maybe.
so it appears to be advancing to you.
Oh, let's see. I hit OK on the videotaping. Maybe that works. How's this?
Okay, it's not doing anything yet. You might want to stop screen sharing and restart again, and make sure when you do that, you select, like when you select window or screen, you choose entire screen. A lot of times that's been the problem for me.
Okay, I think so. Let's see. Share. Sorry about that, guys. I was like, okay, so screen and then share. Do you see it?
It's coming online, not quite yet though. There it is, and that looks a lot more like it's in presentation mode. So try to advance it though, just to
Okay,
check.
so let's see. Come on. It's not advancing. Maybe I just use my, uh-oh. Come on.
There we go. Now it's going.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So these are all the concepts and we're going to talk about, but I'm not going to stay here too long. Okay. So do you see this one? Do you see this one?
Yes, so we're on faunal and fungal relationships.
Hey, okay. Thanks. All right. So most of you are familiar with the concept of symbiosis. It's a relationship between two different organisms living in close physical association. So that's kind of what I focused on. And there's various types. There's the interaction where one benefits and the other is harmed, or one doesn't benefit, but the other one's not harmed. And then there's also parasitism and predation, which I really don't talk about. But my main focus, of course, is mutualism, where there's a fungal and animal relationship which benefits both of them. And we're going to go, because there's a whole bunch of those. I might mention a few examples of commensalism, which is where one benefits, but the other one's not harmed. I'm also going to talk about animals and mycophagy, like mycophagy literally means eating mushrooms or fungi. And then fungi culture, animals that like to farm. So you either go hunting for your mushrooms or you farm them. So, and animals have been farming mushrooms for like 15 million years, which is quite different than our approach. And there's another cute little red squirrel. Animal mycophagy refers to the consumption of fungi by various animals. Many animals, ranging from insects to mammals, engage in mycophagy by feeding on a variety of fungi, including mushrooms and other fungal structures such as the mycelium itself and even the spores. Mycophagy is observed from simple roundworms to humans, so lots in between. And even, we are big mycophagy type fans here. DNA evidence from dental tartar indicates that even Neanderthals ate mushrooms. So I don't know what dentists worked on this, but it's interesting, our past. Mycophagy and poisonous mushrooms. Someone earlier mentioned that can squirrels eat poisonous mushrooms or do they get sick? And the answer is no, they're adapted to eating, certain animals are adapted to eating poisonous mushrooms. That's why if you see a squirrel eating a mushroom, doesn't necessarily mean you could eat it, despite the fact that you're both mammals. So one study showed that squirrels have adapted to eating deadly amanita toxins by lining their gut with a toxin compatible glycoprotein, which allows for safe excretion of the toxins, while in humans, the toxin is free and enters the bloodstream. And same is true with snails too, like the snail here. But even animals, there are certain mushrooms animals can't eat either. So then I looked at zuccheri, which is why would a mushroom want some critter to eat it? Well, the main thing is for spore dispersal. Zuccheri is defined as the dispersal of seeds and fungal spores by animals. And it's in this probably the best way to disperse the organism into different habitats. Fungi have developed numerous strategies to ensure the help of animals in dispersal. Animals that are agents of spore dispersal are often called vectors. So it's really a good thing for the mushroom to have these dispersers. There's two types of zuccheri. Of course, the word zoo comes, from animals. Endozookery is the spore dispersal via the gut of the animal. Ingestion and defecation are involved in spore dispersal. So that means that the spore can go through the animal's gut and still come, be viable. Ectozookery, the spore dispersal by means of being on the animal's exterior body. Spores are transported via the outside body part of an insect, a bird, or the fur of a mammal, or really get spread far away by a bat. So why study fauna and fungal relationships? We know how important fungi and flora are to each other, but you'll see just based on zuccheri and mycophagy, how important animals are for preserving the ecosystem balance, as the removal of even a single species of fauna or fungi could have devastating consequences on the delicate web of life. So they're really important to one another. Oh yeah, if you have a question, just let me know, or oops, there we go. Exploring the relationship between animals and fungi. They play a vital role in nutrient cycling, decomposition, soil formation, while animals contribute to spore dispersal, nutrient redistribution. So I'm going to talk from worms to elephants, starting with, but before I go into what animals do, a note on umwelt. There's a really good book I recommend everybody who's a big fan of nature and zoology and reads, called An Immense World by Ed Young. And he looks at animals and all their amazing senses. Umwelt is the German word that means the sensory world of animals, which is very different from ours. So when it comes to how animals find fungi, their umwelt plays a significant role. So this was first described in 1909. Many animals have keen sense of smell. So if you want to go looking for truffles, you can't go around smelling for truffles, but your dog or your trained pig certainly can. So, and that's because these animals are very sensitive to the organic compounds that, fungi released, the volatile organic compounds that can attract animals, signaling the presence of fungi. We have to actually pick a mushroom up and smell it, but most animals can smell it in the air. Animals with a strong sense of touch or vibrations, such as burrowing mammals, might locate fungi by detecting changes in the soil texture caused by the fungal mycelium. Some animals may rely on cues from other organisms, such as mycophages, insects, which can lead them to fungal colonies by listening. So that's why animals are better at finding mushrooms than we are. So the mushroom wants the help of animals to spread, the word. And I kind of compare this a mushroom to a restaurant. When I was a biology teacher, I just had to make things simple for the students to understand. So think of the location as a habitat. So you probably want to be in the moist area because that's how you grow better. And insects that live in that area will be attracted. Maybe you bioluminescent to have a sign that is bioluminescent to attract insects at night. You should have an attractive visual looking fruiting body that looks delicious. That will attract squirrels for sure. The customers that are eating the mushrooms at the restaurant spread the word or the spores. And there's an underground network going on with supply chains such as nutrients. That's all going underground, and that helps. And again, those smells, like when you walk by a fresh bread, restaurant, you can smell the fresh bread or the pizza being cooked. That's what animals go around doing, smelling delicious. All right, well, I'm going to start with the simplest of organisms, and there's certainly a lot of other critters that must eat fungi, and so that's, the microscopic ones, and certainly a lot of them even eat slime molds, which are another phyla. But we'll start with the nematodes. These are referred to as roundworms, and they're the most common animal on Earth. If you imagine the globe of the Earth, if you took everything away from the globe, oceans, rivers, mountains, buildings, people, etc., you would see a vibrating world of nematodes. That's how many there are. So and the ones that cause problems for farmers are the ones that eat the mushrooms. And those are the free-living nematodes. The parasitic ones, all they're interested in is, eating you from the inside out. So, but the free-living nematodes do enjoy a good mushroom. Sometimes the tables are turned. Sometimes you have oyster mushrooms, and you've probably heard of oyster mushrooms that hunt for nematodes. Because nematodes are so common, it's a good source of nitrogen for the oyster mushrooms, and other mushrooms also eat nematodes, not just the oyster mushrooms, but So because these are plentiful, good food for mushrooms as well. And I don't really talk about predation in my book. I just thought I'd mention it a little bit. Maybe I do. Yeah, I did cover a little bit of it, but just because it's really interesting that the tables can be turned. So maybe come back to that. Lungworms, a group of parasitic nematodes that even though they're parasitic, they have a commensalism relationship where they benefit, but the fungus is not harmed. And that would be the example of lungworms and the Pilobolus fungi that live on the poop of the cows. And when these spores are dispersed at high speeds, the little lungworm larvae are in there and they get dispersed so that they spread and can go back and reinfect cattle. Another group of wormy type creatures are the true worms, the segmented worms, earthworms. And most important critter in improving soil health, earthworms offer many benefits such as nutrient availability, better water movement, and along with the fungi, they love to decompose. Earthworms are attracted to fungal rich organic matter. Together, they make the soil nutrient rich. Adding manure helps introduce fungi, and earthworms can even consume poisonous mushrooms. So that's kind of a good thing for us. And then we'll move right along to my favorite group, the gastropods. They are in the phylum Mollusca. And these are the ones I looked at are mostly the land mollusk or gastropods, stomach-footed ones. And because these are the ones you run across in the forest and you see them eating mushrooms. So the umwelt of the snails and slugs, really interesting. The eye stalks are used for seeing as well as for smelling. So they're looking for and smelling for mushrooms. And the other two are feeling and tasting. So they'll feel it, taste it. I can eat this. And the shell is for protection in the snails. Slugs and snails have 4 tentacles on their head. Both produce slime, and they both tend to be nocturnal. And most of the energy from slugs and snail is the production of slime. So imagine what it'd be like to produce a water slide and just slide all the time. That's what they do. Slugs have no shell but can slither underground, which makes it easier to hide from predators. Snails that consume mushrooms get more calcium, which helps maintain their shell. So that's a good thing. So, and mushrooms are in the same moist environment as what gastropods prefer. When you're looking at mushrooms, sometimes you'll see them with these weird scrapes, and that's caused by snail predation. They have this structure called the radula, and it just kind of breaks down the mushroom. And I'll show you. So when you're run across a snail or a mushroom that's been eaten by a snail, you'll see these like little ridgy, raky type indentations in the mushroom. Here's another one. It's my favorite, banana slug. And there's one eating an amanita. So I take too many. These are pictures from a friend of mine who does mushroom photography here on the island where I live. And sure enough, they don't care what kind of mushroom it is. They'll eat them all. I don't know of any mushrooms that are poisonous to slugs, but I should probably research that. I'm not sure how many animals can eat Amanita phalloides or the death cap, for example. There might be a few, but see how beautiful they are. I'm kind of biased. I just love these guys grazing. Okay. Studies on gastropod mycology have shown that fungal spores are successfully dispersed after the snail, poops them out. Fungal spore transport by omnivorous mycophagous slugs in temperate forests by let's say, group of scientists found that they had a higher germination capacity than control spores collected from spore prints. So somehow going through digestion is really helpful for the spores. Anyway, digestion, especially by slugs, freed spores from the asci, modified their morphology. There was improvement in oak mycorrhization with the slug over fresh spore inoculation. So not only is the slug helping disperse the fungi, but it's helping disperse mycorrhizal fungi, which is great for the trees, such as an oak. So it's all tied together. Here's that iNaturalist project I was talking about. I could send it to you a little bit later, but it's Mollusca and Mycophagy is the name of the project. And it's kind of fun, and you see all sorts of really cool pictures. This is a good picture. This is a good place to take pictures of snails and put them on your other project. See, arthropods and fungi. So again, I think when I come back for my next life, I'm definitely going to have to come back as an entomologist, because here's a group I just haven't had a chance to devote my life to. And you can devote your life to any kind of group. So basically, I took the more common ones, the ones that we see every day, like flies and maggots, oh my. So there's the good, the bad, and the ugly about flies. For one, the good part is they're efficient spore vectors. They'll take the spores and spread them all over the different habitats. So, and they also have an ecological role in decomposition and pollination, and also an important food source for other animals. And they aid in forensic sciences as well. So flies get a bad rap. So sometimes they're good. Sometimes they're bad, especially if you're a mushroom farmer or you're picking your favorite mushroom and it's already got maggots in it. So, and the ugly, as rare as it can be, they can be disease vectors. So, but if you accidentally eat a few, it's not going to harm you too much. And flies have an interesting umwelt. Unlike human beings, houseflies have compound eyes. Their integrate eyes provide them with nearly a 360-degree field of view, which allows them to see behind themselves, explains why they're so hard to kill with a fly swatter. They lack chewing mouth parts, so they drink their food. And they also can detect what the food tastes like on their feet. So when they're sitting on your pizza or sandwich in the park, they're tasting it. And they can produce a lot of, deposit a lot of eggs. So real quick producers. They regurgitate digestive enzymes, kind of similar to what mushrooms do, so they spit out enzymes and then the solid foods for them starts to break down and it's easier to gulp it up like a smoothie. So maggots, same thing, they regurgitate enzymes and then they use their mouth parts to break down material before drinking their larval smoothie. So there they are. Fungal gnats. These are the ones who are real problems for mushroom farmers as well. They're small. They don't fly, really. They tend to walk around. And they kind of look like Drosophila, the little fruit fly. Their larvae primarily feed on fungi and organic matter in the soil. So that's a good place to raise baby fungal gnats on mushrooms. So the ultimate fly attractant, if you're a mushroomer thinking, well, how do I get all these flies to come, take my spores away? Well, stinkhorns have adapted a way to ensure flies and beetles, as well as other insects, feast on them and carry their spores. Stinkhorns smell so bad, but flies that are attracted to carrion quickly gather. So they have this sticky, smelly mess of spores called a gleba. And so naturally, the spores get caught on the fly's legs and then really They fly away and they spread the spores. Also got a little bit in my book about myths, and one of the common myth is the fly agaric, which kills flies. The legend is that you would mix some milk with fly agaric, and the flies would come and they'd get poisoned. So, and the flies probably smelled the milk and thought that was good. But really what happens is they get really drunk and then they drown. So studies have shown that if you take the flies out before they drown, they usually fly away after they get over their drunken stupor. One of my favorites are springtails. These guys are so cute. They're actually hexapods, not real insects. And they look to me like a little Pokemon creature. They're just adorable. But a lot of people, when they're picking, their mushrooms, they see all these little springtails. They go, oh no, that mushroom's ruined. But I think you could, soak them in salt water or something to get rid of them. There's also flat bugs. And flat bugs, I didn't even know existed, but they're underground eating the mycelium. So they penetrate the mycelium and suck out the contents. So they have a long, thin, tube-like stylet for penetrating the hyphae. It's really cool looking guy or gal. Insects that cultivate mushrooms. Everybody focuses on ants, beetles, and termites. These guys are interesting because they're all examples of obligate mushroom farmers. That means they're totally dependent on mushrooms, and the mushrooms, for the most part, are totally dependent on them. These are all social insects like the ant, the beetles, and the termites. So, and social insects, they all have super senses as well. They can detect danger and food and each other by the smell. Touch is very important, used to identify surroundings and sense changes in temperature and wind direction. Hearing, used to communicate with each other and detect predators. And taste as well. And they even use magnetic fields to locate, where the mushrooms are long distances without getting lost and then returning back to the colony. So superpowers all around. The leafcutter ants are the most popular that most people have heard about. The workers forage and farm, and soldiers guard, and the queen rules. The ants follow the scent trails, and they create a fungal garden by bringing in leaves to cultivate Leucoagaricus gangliophorus, the food source for their larvae. The fungus has lost its ability to survive independently outside of the ant colony and is highly dependent on the leafcutter ants for its growth and dispersal. And in fact, this species of mushroom doesn't even become a mushroom. It stays in the mycelial stage because it doesn't need to be, the fruit above. So this is a prime example of mutualistic symbiosis that happens to be obligate. And we've got, and I go in a little bit about each member of the ant tribe and what they all do. So you could go into my book. We have minimums. They're the smallest workers. They tend to the growing brood and maintain the fungal gardens. So they have their little job. The miners, slightly larger, are numerous and play a crucial role in defending the colony. Okay, so they're the ones who are really aggressive. The media are the foragers. They go around foraging. That's all they care to do. And they're guarded by the miners. And the majors are the largest worker ants in the colony, and they protect the colony. So they defend the nest. Termites are another social insect, and they're also subterranean. Like ants, termites have, I don't want to call it a caste system because they all have roles and not necessarily one is better than the other. Sterile soldiers, workers, and the queen and her chosen king. So that's their little groupies. And they use their antenna to detect vibrations and sense the presence of other termites. Leafcutter ants use their antenna to survey for food and communication. So slightly different. This is a termite, this is an ant. The ant looks like it's been on Ozempic. That has a really narrow waist there. There we go. Unlike the fungi cultivated by leafcutter ants, which the ant colony uses as food, the Termitomyces culture in a termite's macroterms nest aids in the breakdown of cellulose. So the main reason termites use the fungi is to break down cellulose and lignin so they can have more nutritious compost. So, which is the actual food. So they kind of outsource digestion to the fungi. Old world termites use fungi to digest wood they eat, while the New World termites, like the ones here in South America or Central America, actually use bacteria. So different outsourcing, these two groups. And that's just what their nest looks like, subterranean. And in this case, the mushroom actually comes out. They actually have, this species actually has a fruiting body. And this is the species that comes out. They have pinkish spores, elongated stipe called the pseudorhiza, through which connects to the comb in the termite's nest. Most have a pronounced umba or papilla called a perforatorium, which plays a role in penetrating the soil. So it actually has to fight to get up above the termite mound. And this is an example of a giant one. And they're edible. They have a smoky taste. So, and I've seen these termite mounds like in Africa, in Kenya, and they're huge. They're almost like the size of an apartment. So I can see why these mushrooms grow big. Beetles, if you want to come back and study them in another life, you could spend your whole life studying beetles, and there's so many of them. 400,000 known species. Unlike most other winged insects, beetles have 2 rather than 4 wings, and they're modified as hard shells. So there's great variation in size. Most of the focus is on the ambrosia beetles, but there are a lot of beetles that farm mushrooms. This one's the most famous. They have adapted to have this little organ called a mycophiles, which brings in spores and parts of the mushroom, Rafaela species. Ethanol is released from weakened or dying tree, and that attracts the beetles. So, and then of course, that's a good place to start your mushroom farm. Beetle farming, they're social, but not as social as the ants and termites. Okay, they have most of their roles are broken down into male or female. The females bore into the host trees, pushing out inch-long strings of boring dust. And that's where they cultivate their, their mycangia on their bodies. Eggs hatch into larvae, which feed on the fungus, not the host plant. Female beetles stay with their brood until they become adults, which then mate before leaving the tree. So different lifestyle than ants and termites. And just because I want to throw in another little gastropod, the periwinkle snail does low-level fungal farming. So maybe in about 50 million years, this little periwinkle or litorina will have its own little mushroom farm. But right now, by grazing on swamp grass and fertilizing it with their droppings, they create a favorable condition for a highly nutritious fungus to grow. This symbiotic relationship benefits both the snails and the fungus, demonstrating the intricate connection with the natural communities. So this is like in the salt grass. So this is an interesting study for any PhDs. And I got a little bit into the Coprophilus fungi, the dung livers, so I call the poop squad. Members of the poop squad include quite a few examples, and one of them being psilocybin, psilocybe cubensis, and other psychedelic type mushrooms. And then, of course, Pilobolus, which we mentioned earlier with the lungworms. And these have an interesting life cycle. They live on the excrement of the cows, the feces of the cows, and then have explosive cannonball explosion disperses their spores far from the herbivore's dung, because cows won't eat grass near their dung. So they have to be expelled far away. And that's the lungworms take advantage of that ride. Dung detectives explore ancient past. If you study coprophilous fungi, you can start looking at fossil evidence, because you'll find fossil remnants of those fungi in the coprolites or the fossilized dung. And so that tells us a lot about, the distribution of, Ice Age mammals. So I know I'm talking fast, but we have 20 minutes. So pollinators often contribute to fungal spore dispersal, mostly by carrying the spores outside their bodies. So, but the question is, can fungi be key to protecting pollinators? Even though pollinators don't eat mushrooms, there's a connection there. Okay. Bees and fungi seem to have a connection. Paul Stamets claims that the bees he's seen eating mycelium tend to survive better against viral diseases and the varroa mite, which is really interesting. So scientists also use the metarhizium fungus as a biocontrol against the varroa mites in honeybee colonies. So again, that's a really good way to save bees from colony collapse by using a fungus. So kind of good. And I think you all know what arbuscular fungi are. Those are the fungi that live within the roots of plants. And 90% of plants have such a relationship, mycorrhizal relationship with fungi. And they recently found that milkweed, which feeds the monarch butterfly, if the milkweed has arbuscular fungi, then the monarch survives better, because it enhances the production of the carotenoids, which help the monarchs from predation and from parasitic infections and other common diseases. So if you have milkweed, make sure you have arbuscular fungi in the milkweed. So that's an indirect way that fungi help pollinators. Okay, I also got a little bit into, as we move from invertebrates, creatures without spine, to vertebrates, creatures with spine, I looked into all the major vertebrates. And of course, amphibians and frogs and toads and salamanders, they don't eat mushrooms because they're obligate predators, which means they only feed on, things they have hunted. But the question is, well, why do we always see toads and frogs and salamanders near mushrooms? And because that's created a lot of myth and folklore and cottagecore and all those cute little things you see at the store with the frogs and mushrooms. And it's because insects come for the mushroom, and so that's a good place for Mr. Toad to be hanging out, or Mr. Frog. But there are a few reptiles, which are totally different from amphibians, that feed on fungi. The eastern box turtle feeds on mushrooms. Eastern blue-tongued lizard feeds on mushrooms. Not 100% mushrooms, most of their diet's vegetarian, but they will feed on mushrooms if they're available. And birds also are, nobody thinks of birds eating mushrooms, but there are a lot of birds that will consume mushrooms, from jays, larks, turkeys, lyrebirds, cassowaries. This black-throated hoot-hoot will actually eat truffles. So they'll dig out the truffles. And in an area where these birds exist, the truffles tend to be a lot more colorful, not the dull brown that we see. They tend to be blue or purple, because birds are very attracted to color. So it's kind of interesting. A review of 30 cavity excavating bird species found that they likely have associations with wood decaying fungi. Woodpeckers can use fungi to weaken the wood around their excavation sites. They can carry the fungal spores on their beaks, wings, and feet and spread them to other trees. So fungi depend on woodpeckers to spread them to new locations. So no one ever thinks of a woodpecker as a disperser, but there he is. Okay. And then mammal mycophagy, very common. Although mammal suckery is well known, more research is still needed. Actually, more research is needed with all the animals because there's not enough studies. They did a study and they found how many mammals actually do eat mushrooms. They did this huge study a while back, 2022. And they found that they did it. Here's a graph showing the percentage which are mycophagous. And over here we have rodents, and you can see 221 species feed on mushrooms. And primates are over here, so 104 species of primates eat mushrooms. Artiodactyla, like the deer, 59%. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. In forested systems, small mammals play an important role in dispersing mycorrhizal fungi. So if something happens to these small mammals, then the forest will start to suffer from it because, you know, the trees need mycorrhizal fungi. Squirrels are easy to observe, eating and caching mushrooms. So that's an excellent, if you can catch a squirrel eating the mushroom, by the time I get my camera out, the squirrel is gone. So that's the problem. But the hero of the forests, of the mycorrhizal trees, are voles. They're considered the most important disperser in forest types with high fungal availability. So don't get rid of the voles, guys, because they're really important for your Douglas firs. Douglas, tree, conifers. Then there's truffle eaters. Mammals love truffles. So a lot of mammals are focused on truffle eating, of course, squirrels and other rodents. And down under, the kangaroos. I never thought of kangaroos eating mushrooms, but yeah, that's a big part of their diet. They love digging out truffles. And of course, pigs love truffles. They have an exceptional smell and estimated to be even better than that of a dog. They use their snout to sniff and root out soil. Some truffle species want to be dispersed so badly that they emit compounds that contain androstenol, a sex hormone found in the saliva of male pigs. So the sows go crazy looking for truffles. Unfortunately, pigs damage the soil and truffle mycelium networks. So that's the bad news. But if a pig came in and ate all of your truffles, what that means that maybe your neighbor 10 miles down will have truffles because they'll have the spores in the dung of the pigs. Truffle hunters use pigs and dogs. Again, we don't have the proper sense of smell to find truffles just going out by ourselves. So people have used pigs and they've used dogs. Pigs cause more damage to the soil and will eat rather than give up the truffle. So that's one problem. And this is a really bad movie called Pig with Nicolas Cage, where he loses this truffle hunting pig. Kind of fun. You have to watch it if you like mushrooms. And dogs cause less damage and will not eat your truffles, so that's good. Although I heard some dogs like to eat truffles. So in places like Italy, they no longer allow pigs to go truffle hunting. And in a lot of countries, still, there's a lot of competition for truffles. So a lot of truffle dogs end up getting either kidnapped or killed to lessen the competition. But one of my favorite little interesting symbiotic relationships is between the mole and it's a fungus that actually cleans up its little latrine or toilet. So, and that's actually a study called mycotalpology that studies this relationship. The mushroom's hyphae and the tree roots from mycorrhiza in the mole latrine absorb and transfer nutrients from the mole's excretions. So that all gets transferred to the trees associated with, it's usually the Hepaloma, as you can see. Hepaloma is one of the most common latrine cleaning mushrooms. And here's a little mole in this little nest, pooping, and then it moves, and then the fungus comes in, cleans the toilet, and then the mole comes back. So it's a good system. Primate mycophagy, we've got some superstars. The buff-tufted marmoset, 12% of the time he's spent feeding on mushrooms. Goda's marmoset spends 63% of their time eating mushrooms. And these are in the tropics. That's kind of interesting. Then we have the black snub-nosed monkey, spends up to 95% of its feeding time eating lichens. Is a very rare monkey, only found in the Yunnan province in China. So I know you mentioned for your iNaturalist project, let's send somebody to take a picture of this guy eating lichen. If you want to pay for my trip, I'll go. And bonobos, which are related to chimpanzees, are in the same pan group, have introduced scientists to a new species of truffle. So this one Russian scientist found that the monkeys were finding this truffle, and no one knew that there were truffles in the Congo. So they named it after the bonobo monkey, the Stergium bonobo, a truffle species known as Simbokilo in Bantu. The truffle provides essential nutrients, and its microscopic spores remain intact even as they transverse through the bonobo's tract. And I'm wondering how many spores survive our digestion. I haven't thought about that. That's an interesting study. Fungi and endangered species. The most endangered marsupial is a strict fungophore. Gilbert's potteroo, that's all he eats, 94% of its food. So they were almost wiped out in Australia by cats and foxes and other animals that came, with the Europeans. So in order to save these, they put them all on this little island, and they had to make sure that they had this truffle-like fungi that they eat on. So in order to save this creature, they had to make sure the mushroom was growing. So, okay, medicinal fungi and animals. I contacted Garrett Patterson after I heard that Cape elephants were eating Ganoderma plodnum, and he spent 23 years studying them. 50% of the dung has Ganoderma remnants and spores, and that appears to be helping the immune system. They don't seem to be as sick when consuming these very, very hard mushrooms. Sloths, a slow-moving forest of medicinals. Sloths are an entire world of algae, bacteria, fungi, and so many critters, including sloth poop incubated moths. So fungi may function as pharma for preventing diseases like malaria, Chagas disease, and other antibiotic, anti-cancer, and anti-parasitic compounds. So they've been finding kissing bugs in the United States. I don't know if they have in Wisconsin, but kissing bugs carry Chagas disease, which hurts your heart. So it'd be interesting to find out how these fungi help the sloth not get these diseases. And finally, animals appear to enjoy getting high. It's not cocaine bear, but you've seen bears getting drunk on Amanita muscaria, and there's plenty of videos. And really, another interesting book I'd like to recommend is Animals and Psychedelics, The Natural World, and the Instinct to Alter Consciousness, written a while back. It's only 88 pages. He doesn't just talk about mushrooms. He talks about different plants that animals get high on. So did Rudolph the reindeer fly high? That's a good question, because I do love to eat that. While foraging, the deer such as caribou or moose will seek out fly agaric, frozen beneath the winter snow. Provides them with good, nutrition, but at the same time, they might get a little bit woozy. Their intoxication leaves them vulnerable, and predators can take advantage of them or their unattended calves. So it's not a good idea to get high while you have calves around. But most animals get high on wild yeast fermentation. They get drunk. And so this is what I call critters under the influence. So a lot of people like to laugh at, the reindeer getting drunk on Amanita muscaria, but for the most part, most animals get drunk on fermentation, which is caused by yeast. So cedar waxwings often die of ethanol poisoning because they just can't stop eating, they can't stop getting drunk. And a lot of animals have actually, like this tree shrew, feeds on a regular diet of fermented nectar, but has adapted not to get drunk. So that's kind of interesting. Anyway, animals and humans united by a shared love for fungi, we both savor the earthy flavors, harness their medicinal powers, and occasionally indulge in the high albite with different motivations and cultural rituals. Now convinced of the who's existence, the other jungle animals vow to help Horton protect the tiny community. So I quoted Dr. Seuss just because, like we said earlier, before we knew about mushrooms, they were pretty much invisible. But now that we know about mushrooms and those little beetles crawling around and the springtails and the snails, it kind of opens up our world to, a tiny community that was invisible until we started looking. So anyway, oops. So in conclusion, fungi are a major food source for a variety of animals. Mushroom farming has a long history amongst numerous animal taxa. Zoology is of great importance in Sugary is of great importance in spore dispersal, and such symbiotic relationships between fauna and fungi need further research. So we need to research that relationship just like we have between plants and fungi. And so my book, I kind of wrote it for, wide audience. It's kind of, I talk a little science, but I also try to make it fun so that everybody can enjoy it. And maybe I can inspire someone to look at some tiny beetle and go, oh, that's going to be my PhD paper right there. So anyway, that's it. We have 5 minutes left. So I know I kind of went fast. So are there any questions?
If you have questions, you can put them in the chat, or you can unmute yourself. You're going to have to unmute yourself if you want to talk and ask them directly.
Yeah. Oh, and here's my book. I was going to read excerpts from it, but I think we're running out of time anyway. Yeah. So I cover most of the things here. A few other things I didn't cover on my presentation are in the book. And then, yeah. So any questions?
I've got a question.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to know what more we know about bioluminescent fungi in terms of their insect associates. How much is known about spore dispersal or fungivory, not just the mutualisms by Ada and the Macrotermes and the ambrosia beetles?
Uh-huh. Yeah, in terms of spore dispersal, beetles, for example, and other insects are really great at dispersing spores, even if they don't eat the mushroom, because they're always crawling around and jumping from flower to this to that soil where all the spores are. So,
Specifically the bioluminescent fungi?
oh, yeah, bioluminescent. Yeah, they think that the bioluminescence attracts insects. So, and it certainly attracts UV. Birds can see in UV. So, for example, like an owl will follow the trail of mouse urine to find it. And that might be a pathway that insects use that to find specific mushrooms, or they know that other little bugs are in there to eat. So that's that's an interesting field of study.
You had a slide where you suggested monkey see, monkey don't do, and
Oh,
you mentioned
yeah.
that squirrels might eat mushrooms that are poisonous to humans. But I once met a Indian biologist who claimed, "Hey, monkeys eat that," and he was talking about fruits, for example.
Oh,
Then humans can eat it. So,
yeah. I'm
so if we're
thinking
talking about
monkeys.
within primates proper, either great apes or
Mhm.
all the way to prosimians, can we trust non-human primates?
Yeah, that's a good question because I think like the bonobos for sure. Um, I'm not sure about that lichen eating monkey, but yeah, I think primates might be safer than, certainly a lot safer than squirrels or slugs. So that's an interesting thing. Yeah, I'm
I
pretty sure that like the death cap would also kill a monkey. I have no doubt, but
question for you. Um,
hi.
are you aware of, oh, hi, Lauren. Um, any creatures that eat poisonous fungi as a way to, 'cause, I know it's really common in the insect world with like poisonous plants, like the milkweed and monarchs, where they accumulate a plant poison to then
Hmm.
be unpalatable later. Are you aware of any insects doing this with
I'm
fungi?
not aware of any insects doing that. I bet there are. Um, I just didn't run across any articles about that. What I did is I researched. My research is mostly scientific studies on all these, um, and then I kind of made it readable. But I didn't run across anything like that. But I'm sure because the monarchs do that, I'm sure other insects do that too, to be inedible. Um,
It could also definitely be, I feel like that like with the thing you were highlighting with the fungus milkweed butterfly connection, that there's a lot of fungi that live in plant tissues that we're
mhm.
finding out more and more are either the producer or are like a secondary partner with the
Mhm.
plant in producing some kind of secondary metabolite like a toxin.
Right.
So it's like it might be the fungus that it seems like they're getting it from a plant, but the fungus is a big part.
That's right. Yeah. So, yeah, all these connections are really important to look at because it shows you that nature is more cooperative than competitive. It's like all these critters and plants and fungi cooperating in this little community. And so,
Eva, this is Glenn. I enjoyed the presentation. I was interested in the one where well, I think was it a mole that was using the fungus was doing the latrine cleaning.
oh, yeah, that's my favorite.
How did we find that out?
Well, I think this study was from Japan. So,
Uh-huh.
Japanese biologists probably studying moles found this out, and then they even it's called it even has a specific name, typomycology, and it's a study of moles and their relationship to fungi, and they could study what the moles are doing based on the fungi in that community. So yeah, interesting. The study comes from Japan. So I don't know if anybody in the United States has followed that up, but it'd be an interesting study for us because we have a lot of moles. So, and really important for the trees. So I thought that was cool because, like, you always wonder, with rodents that live underground, how do they stay clean? But I guess they do. They have their own little sanitation system going.
So it was a cycle where you said the mushroom grew back or the mycelium grew back and
Yeah, so the the mole has this little latrine, then it leaves a latrine, and the fungus eats all the nitrogenous waste products, and then the mycelium starts spreading and then provides nutrients for the local trees. So
Cool.
yeah, it's really cool. Yeah. So any other questions?
What's your favorite mushroom to eat?
Oh, to eat? I like chanterelles. I can't eat morels.
Like if a biologist was observing you in the woods, what would they catch you snacking on?
Chanterelles probably, or chicken of the woods. I like that one too.
Oh,
Although
good. You
you have to
tolerate it.
really cook them. Yeah, you have to cook them really well. So, but yep. Yeah, and people ask me, what the edible ones are, and I really love looking at edible mushrooms, but my main thing's looking at what the animals are eating. So,
Well, I guess in a way you're looking at edible ones, just not
yeah, not for
necessarily
me. Yeah,
not for you. Yeah.
that's right. Yeah. So,
Well, very
and
nice.
there's also fungi in the ocean. We haven't even scratched the surface of what animals are eating fungi in the ocean, but we do know that, the fungi, marine fungi are eating the plastic and stuff like that. And so that's another interesting field that,
Yeah, like who's eating all those chytrids?
that's right, who are eating all the chytrids. Yep. That's another lifetime. Come back as a marine mycologist, I guess. So, but yeah. So, and in my book, I have tons of references, but so you can actually, I like having specific references for each chapter because then you could look it up. And if you really want to take get into a rabbit hole of like mole latrines and stuff like that, you can, and bird fungal relationships and when I started this book, just started thinking about it. It's because of all my observations on snails and slugs eating mushrooms, and then seeing squirrels eating mushrooms. And then I started asking, well, who else eats mushrooms besides us? So, but yeah.
That
So,
is very awesome. Any last questions from people? Otherwise, maybe you could try to get in touch with Ava later if it comes to you, or you want to share your latest thoughts on mole latrines.
yeah, I love that topic.
Where could we buy your book? Is it on Amazon or is there a website you prefer
It's
selling
on
from?
Amazon. You can buy it directly from my publisher, Green Writers Press as well. If you don't like Amazon, you could buy it at Barnes and Noble. You can go to your local bookstore and just, give them the ISBN number, which you can get from Amazon, I think. So, yeah, or from my website. Yeah, I think I have it
Oh,
on the website.
could you
Yeah.
drop your website maybe in the chat?
Yeah,
Not yet? Okay.
let's see, where's the chat? Oop, up, up, up. Let's see.
Hello from the planetarium, the EWL Mycology Club.
Hi, planetarium.
We
That's
have a
kind of
group
cool.
of people watching on just the one big screen.
Let's see. Let's see. www.raymond author. Oh, wait a minute. That's my oh yeah, that's it. Now this is a website to my let me look at my blog first, because I also write fiction, so a lot of my stuff's on that one, but let me see if I could find blog real quick. So blog. Hopefully it'll come up. Let's see. Okay. Oh darn. Well, yeah, I want to get it more specific. It's a long name.
I think I might have it. Sorry, I usually would be quicker on the looking
Yeah.
things up,
Yeah.
but I was kind of distracted by the planetarium situation. But I've linked what I believe is your website
Oh, okay, cool. Let's see. Oh, you didn't put, okay, yeah. Or you
Oh, there we go.
could, you got it?
Yeah. So we
Oh,
could buy.
Oh, and then you have I see you have a separate website that's linked up top there to like
right,
the more.
yeah, the one that's my blog
There you
is my nonfiction.
Two whole websites to
Yeah,
have.
yeah, one's for fiction and this one's for nonfiction. So, yeah, I also want to investigate more about sloths and medicinal fungi from their fur. So maybe I'll find something out. I'm going to Costa Rica in March and going to visit some sloth sanctuaries and see what more they know about the fur. So, plus, I want to see the moths hatch out of their poop. That's kind of cool. But that probably won't happen because sloths I think they only poop once a week or once every couple of weeks.
Oh.
Good apartment pet. No, not really. Yeah, so feel free to get in touch. And yeah, I joined your project on iNaturalist, so maybe I'll follow whoever is on it.
Yay, thank you. And I actually did find a mollusk mycophagy project, but it was under a slightly different name. So I don't know if they changed the URL at some point.
Oh, they might have, yeah.
So I just linked that just now. If you change the title of a project, it changes the URL. So I found that out also the hard way.
Oh, okay. I know nothing's easy, and then just blank out.
So I linked
Well-
that though, but it looks like the right project. So I've joined that one too.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah.
Thank
And
you so much.
More, I'll join those too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well,
hey,
thanks so much for talking to us.
well, thank you for inviting me. You look like a nice group, and let me know if you have any questions. And yeah, so
Yeah.
this book is available, and it's only on print. I've been bugging my publisher to get an ebook ready for it, but I think most of my mycology books are print books. I only read fiction and ebook because
Yeah. What we really need is the audio version.
yeah, I want to do that, and I can't do that unless the ebook version's available
Happens,
for some reason. So, because I love listening to Entangled Web. Whenever we go on a long trip, I like to listen to that. Because, yeah, it's
Yeah,
fun.
it's just nice to have like the fungi animal bedtime stories, which Haley and Neil also say, what a good reason to take more pics of slugs and snails. And we support this here at WMS.
Yay.
So,
Yeah. All
so good
right.
night to everybody.
Good night, and thank you for inviting me. And maybe we'll see you at the next NAMA event, or I'm also on the education committee, the co-chair. So if you're
Cool.
interested in joining the education committee, let me know.
For the North American Mycological Association.
Yeah, just drop me a note, and because it's nice to get different. Right now, we're working on creating a fungi day, and I know one exists, but we need one that's similar to Pi Day and what's the other one? Mole Day. So
Right. More educational, less like Mushroom Farmers of America. But we
yeah,
love them. But
yeah,
you know,
can
I
join
think that
too.
the Mushroom Day is a little bit more named in favor of like us eating them.
Yeah, that's true.
Cool.
Cool. All right. Well, have a nice evening, and
Yeah, and if you're ever in Wisconsin, absolutely. Or the UP, as you're kind of alluding to, with the NAMA foray next year,
definitely. Yeah.
2026. We're
All right.
excited. All right. Good night.
Good night, everybody. Bye.
Bye.